What is debt default during high inflation? Imagine a country or person owing money and the value of that money keeps dropping. That's what happens during high inflation. When inflation rises sharply, the cost of goods and services increases quickly. This affects how much debt is really worth and how easy or hard it is to pay back. Debt default happens when a borrower fails to pay what they owe on time. This could be missing interest payments or not paying back the full amount of the loan. For governments, default might mean skipping payments or restructuring the debt to pay less later. During high inflation, the real value of the debt, which is how much it can buy, decreases because the money used to pay back is worth less. This might make it seem like paying back the debt is less of a problem. Sometimes, inflation can help avoid default. Governments might choose to let inflation rise on purpose to reduce the real debt they owe. This is called inflating away the debt. But if inflation keeps rising and expectations become unstable, lenders will worry. They will demand higher interest rates to protect themselves from losing money. That makes borrowing more expensive and can push the country closer to default. Governments also face limits on raising taxes or cutting spending. They might rely on inflation to generate extra revenue through a process called seigniorage, which is printing money to cover deficits. But if debt levels get too high, inflation can spiral out of control, making it even harder to pay back debts and increasing the chance of default. High inflation can also cause economic instability. When the economy is shaky, government revenues fall, and paying back debt becomes even tougher. This can lead to partial debt restructuring, where the government agrees to pay less or stretch out payments instead of full default. For households, inflation affects debt differently. If someone has a fixed-rate loan, inflation makes their debt easier to pay because the money they owe is worth less over time. But if they have variable-rate debt, payments can go up as interest rates increase to fight inflation. When a government defaults during high inflation, it can cause big problems for households. It might lead to job losses, lower incomes, and less financial stability. People might find it harder to save or borrow money, which impacts everyday life. In short, debt default during high inflation is a tricky situation. Inflation reduces the real value of debt, which can help some borrowers. But it also raises borrowing costs and can push governments into default if they cannot manage the rising costs or economic instability. This dynamic influences both a country's economy and the financial health of households.